on the Board of Animal Health. Doc, if you want to start us off here, I'll be happy to go and let you do that while I'm pulling this up.
Well, good morning. Thank y'all for letting us do this. I appreciate y'all's support you've always given us. I've got two things. I've got our annual report just to kind of see through the year the kind of things that we do involved in some of the numbers. So y'all can feel free to look at that. My packet is the handout here that's got a letterhead. And so basically what I just wanted to go through is kind of remind y'all, I know most of you have been here for years and I didn't know.
Doc, will you take up that mic right there and push the button?
Oh, all right. There we go. All right. Am I live now?
You are.
Okay. All right. So just in looking at our budget request, I just wanted to go through kind of some of the things that we face that kind of lays the foundation of what our request is. So everybody knows bird flu. It's still hot and heavy going on in the northern part of the country. Y'all may remember last year it spilled over into dairy cows. And so one of the things that we do, we work with the health department, and we started last November testing the milk in our dairies. When bird flu gets in cows, it gets in their udder, and the milk is what's affected. Like in other animals, it's their lungs and respiratory, but in cows, it gets in their udder and it's in the milk. So you test the milk to find out if cows are affected. And the reason for that is not because it's a food safety hazard, because pasteurization kills the virus, but in many parts of the country, the virus has gone from cows back into commercial poultry operations. And so that's really our big concern is it doesn't really affect the cows that much. I mean, it does to a degree. They don't die. They just get sick and then recover. But if it gets into a chicken farm, it kills them just like the other virus does. So we test every dairy every week during November through March, which is our high risk season, then at least once or twice a month, weekly if we can, through the rest of the year. And so we were last year the first state to be able to USDA to recognize us as free. And so we continue to have that. And the purpose for that is to let our poultry farmers know, hey, if we've got an affected dairy, y'all need to go on high alert. And so that gives them assurance, knowing it's bad enough worrying about the birds and the vultures, but the dairy cows adds to it. So the other thing that last year hit is this thing called New World screwworm. It's an old problem from back in the 40s and 50s that we eliminated. And for several decades now, I've had it under control, but it is moving back, and Mexico is really struggling, all in Central America. I was talking to a friend that was in Belize on a mission trip in December, and every animal that they saw that had a wound had maggots from screwworms. And so Belize, Nicaragua, Honduras, and southern Mexico, and it's moving up. And so you may have seen press releases and things. USDA is really working hard with the state of Texas. That's going to be the boundary. And so that's a threat to our livestock and wildlife that we also work on. Education, being prepared to respond should we see it. And then we work with our producers, whether it's our poultry producers, to try to help them safeguard. One of the things that's been real big in the last couple of years is vultures are a huge risk. So vultures are very susceptible to bird flu. And so not only, so the ducks and the geese carry it, certain geese actually die from it, but hawks, vultures, eagles are very susceptible. For example, back about 2 months ago at the Byram landfill, they found a lot of dead vultures, and they were tested and they're positive for bird flu. So we know the virus is in the state. So I worked with NRCS last year, and they have agreed to add into their cost share program. We have required as of January, every new poultry farm build around their composter shed wiring and things to keep vultures out and wild animals out. Every one of our bird flu positive farms have had issues with composters where they put the dead birds, vultures are there. They can spread it to other farms. So NRCS has agreed to add that to the cost share, and so new poultry farms will have that built in to be a protection for where vultures can actually get in. So anyway, those are things that we do. We work with our cattle producers, trying to do biosecurity protection. We work again with our poultry farms. USDA has a program. They'll come in and actually do a free assessment of a poultry farm to look at the risk of wildlife or other biosecurity measures. And if they find a problem that can be fixed, they'll provide up to $25,000 cost share to help a poultry producer. Obviously, poultry farmers are like everybody else. You don't necessarily want the government on your property, in your business. So it's been a slow go, but Cal-Maine has just gone through this, and we've had several other farms do that, and it's very beneficial. So we work with them, our team of people are trained to be able to do not the wildlife assessment, but the other part of the assessment with our poultry growers to help them look at waterways, because the disease comes in from wild migratory waterfowl, but they don't fly into a farm and drop it. So something gets in. Usually people walk it in on their clothing, their boots, or wild birds or animals get in the chicken farm. So we spend a lot of time working on that. So to the actual request that we have, so the next page was just the LBO thing. So what we're asking for is that there was a slight, I think, LBO recommendation to decrease what we had asked for last year. So we're asking to that get re-put back into our increase to what we had asked for. Our major ask, our primary ask this year, y'all have really been great helping us with equipment. We have a new foamer. We've had some other equipment, protective equipment for our personnel that we need last year. But really my biggest problem that I have in keeping our agency ready and able to respond to all the disasters and issues that we have is our salary issues. And so that's my ask this year, is to, in these categories, to get us back up or to get us to a level where we can hire people. Our poultry folks, we've had a position empty for over a year. They don't even want to talk to us because the poultry industry, the differential in prices is so great. Even to get an entry level poultry person, we're not even close to being competitive. Our livestock inspectors, which are the guys that actually, do inspections at sale barns, but they're also the ones that do our response. They're the ones that take our equipment in and depopulate birds. They're in hazardous conditions that they require extra training. And so we're just to a point where we are really struggling, and we really need to get our salaries to where they need to be. Our veterinarians, of course, y'all hear from the vet school, the veterinary situation is really critical for us to get and retain. Our salaries are just so far apart, and we don't have to be competitive with a small animal veterinarian, but we do have to be able to be competitive enough to actually get somebody to think about being there. Those are all critical pieces of our organization, our admin folks. So that that last page, I think, is just the kind of category breakdown to overall that looks to a $241,593 general fund increase. USDA, which has supported us for years, the Trump administration, already before the Trump administration, they were cutting what we call cooperative agreement dollars. USDA gives us a certain amount of money to cooperatively carry out programs. Those continue to be cut. And so those are the kind of the breakdown of the funds. And so anyway, with that, questions, Kim is our business person here that can answer budget questions, because I don't know. I know big picture, but I don't know details.
You keep us safe. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions? I'll let you start.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Watson. Looks like the difference in the request and the LBR is only the salary issue, right? Where presently LBR's got you about 17,000 above last year, and you're looking for 115,000 above for salary progressions. Is that right?
Well, I don't know, Kim, you're gonna have to,
Yeah.
what we had here was 144, 232 was salary progression. In addition,
Dr. Watson, I think our analyst made.
okay, yeah,
Yes, sir. The discrepancy in that is that money was added for PERS and health insurance increase, and that is how, as you see on your notes right there, you see an
Mhm.
increase. That's going to be the funds we added for the overall increase of PERS and health insurance. But they did, if you look at the salary line up there, between their requested and LBR, we did take that amount out. Yes, sir.
Okay. I got you. I see the notes down below. So that was just the PERS and the health insurance for the 17K, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
yeah, thanks. All I see is this sheet that comes out to me in a big book, and that's what I go off of. I don't get the
You're
details.
fine, Dr. Watson. Mr. Chairman, any other questions for him?
I don't think so right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You raise a lot of questions for me. Being a cattle farmer, I have a lot of questions on where we're headed with all this. But my first question is, do you feel like we are ready to respond to the poultry industry right now after getting your new trailer?
Yes.
So
So
we're ready.
we've got 3 trailers now. 2 are fairly old, but anyway, we are ready to go. Obviously, I look at it like a hurricane. We take care of ourselves for the first X number of farms. Obviously, if we had a 10 farm outbreak at the same time, nobody can handle that. But for the outbreaks that we expect, have a farm, 1 or 2, 3 farms at a time, whereas, let me put it this way, other than a big, huge state, we are as capable as any other state, and more so with the team we have and the equipment we have. So I feel very comfortable that at this point, more equipment's not going to help us.
Yeah, very good. My next question is, you're talking about the fact that it does end up transmitting over into cattle. So, and then now your response is though that it is also transmitting back from cattle back into the industry.
Correct.
Do you foresee us moving into some regulatory area where we're going to have to keep most chicken farmers have cattle. And then also we have the fact that we're moving 4,000 to 5,000 head through the markets every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of every week. Are we looking at a response that's going to happen in the cattle industry soon?
Not the beef cattle industry.
Okay.
Already in the dairy cattle industry, which you probably don't see, but Tylertown does. There's a federal order, and states require milking dairy cows to have a test before they can cross the state line or go to slaughter. So that's already in play. Fortunately, this is a dairy cow problem and not a cow problem because
Okay.
of the nature of how dairies bring animals close together. And so with beef cattle, there's not been any indication. It would be difficult for the disease to sustain itself because it's a milking parlor environment where milk is splashing everywhere that creates the problem. A baby calf nursing, even if a beef cow got it and a dairy calf was nursing her, milk's not transmitting. So no, I don't see any future regulatory unless the disease changes.
Okay.
Right now, the way things are, there's no plans on the table for any increase in.
Well, and I think that's fair. We need to know, because as this starts getting out there in the public, I think that we need to be proactive on letting everybody know that we
Right.
don't expect it to hit the beef cattle to that level, but our dairy industry is absolutely somewhere we need to watch. The only other thing I saw in here is your contractuals. From 25, we went 321 and we're at 502 now. What's that big change? Do you remember, was that because y'all are bringing in new inspectors, or y'all have to bring?
We've had some people on contractual. Kim, we've got several, we had to bring in another admin person to help. And then because we couldn't fill a inspector position, we've had a livestock inspector that retired working contractual.
Okay.
And so, I don't know is there any other increase? I don't remember.
Not that I know, unless we had one of, no.
I'm trying to think of what else.
Reason why we need to get our salaries up. We have a lot of our field workers are very close to retirement age. And so they've kind of adjusted their lifestyles to that salary. But when we go to replace them, it's gonna be hard to get somebody at that salary.
Understand, I promise you, we're hearing this at every agency discussion that we're in here with.
One thing back to your question about the cattle industry.
Mm-hmm.
So this screwworm thing can really be a huge issue. So we are working, we have training, we have materials. So there's a lot of work going on, not just with us, but in cooperation with Extension, USDA, trying to talk to cattle producers. Because if we did have an outbreak, say, of a farm with screwworm, it will require quarantine zones, permits for people to go in and out of that area. Sale barns, if they're in an area, could be shut down for a week or two. So that really on the horizon is a much more concerning issue than the bird flu thing. And so we spend a lot of time working with USDA and others being prepared for that.
So, and I totally agree with that. All the older cattle farmers will tell you that they remember
Yeah,
the
it's-
effects of
it's a
this
terrible thing.
back then. We do have a plan and we are being proactive, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. That's what I need to know is because at the end of the day, this is our food supply, and cattle prices as they are right now. If you go in there and you shut down somebody's farm right now and they're bringing the levels they are right now, you may see more than you want to see that day. So, Dr. Watson, I appreciate you. Is there, she's got something else? Okay.
When we got the emergency.
Yeah, pull that mic, brother.
When we got the emergency fund established, LBO had us spend that money in a category just in case. So I kind of pretty much just split it between contractual and commodities. But that's really, it's just to show the money is available in that emergency fund.
That's the money that we would utilize
That's right.
to respond, and then
That's
USDA or whoever would reimburse us back, correct?
We really appreciate that we had to have that last year when we had an outbreak before Christmas, right after Christmas, and then March. We were fortunate that in the March when we were in a session, so we could, but if all this happens outside of a legislative session and we can't have access to y'all, this is a lifesaver. So we've used it, we appreciate it, and it's really been a helpful thing.
I appreciate that. Dr. Watson, if there's nothing further, we'll let y'all be dismissed.
Thank
Just
you.
leave a few of those
Yeah,
for my
yes,
members.
I can
I
leave.
think we have 3 other members that are not here. I want to be sure they get a
No.
copy of those.
Several. We've got plenty.
All
Thank you.
right. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Doing fine. How are you? Vicksburg still a little icy?
Yeah, it's, bad.
Mhm. Yep. All right, got the Forestry Commission for our budget hearing on that one. Russell, we appreciate you being here today. We'll let you start up.
Wonderful, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the opportunity to be here on a nice, cool January day. Got a lot going on in the state. I always talk a little bit about what the agency does, and what y'all fund for us at the start, and I'll start there. We've, been assisting MEMA, through county requests to use SAW teams to help open up roads, a little bit of dozer work. As one of your state agencies that actually has an all hazard incident management team, we're usually one of the ones that MEMA calls when things start getting touchy out there. So we've got some crews out in North Mississippi, several counties up there. We fished, helped paramedics get to a woman in a mobile home in Carroll County yesterday, cut into her place. It was 20 degrees inside that mobile home when they got there. She was almost gone. So we're still doing a lot with emergency response. We're still a sole statewide agency, for wildfire suppression. We are averaging about 1,700 wildfires a year right now, burning about 43,000 acres. So we are still, unfortunately, dealing with plenty of wildfire here and there. We still manage 480,000 acres roughly of state-owned forest land, a big chunk of that 16th section land. Y'all have the by the numbers document that we put out every year. We are averaging over the 3-year average on that's about $9.5 million right now for school boards, the way we do in timber sale revenue. We're doing about $6.5 million a year right now in federal excess property to our volunteer fire departments. They're one of our biggest partners when it comes to wildfire. Oftentimes they can get there pretty quick, get water on it when it's just fire burning on the side of the road. Keeps us from having to get off in the woods. So we do a lot of support for our volunteer fire departments. We did about typically our 5-year average is between 7,000 and 8,000 landowners every year that we serve. The programs that are both state generated, like the Forest Resource Development Program, and then all the technical service that we provide for our federal partners like the Forest Service, NRCS, Farm Service Agency, et cetera. We support about 7,000 to 8,000 landowners every year. So we've been very, very busy. As you know, forestry is a pretty big industry in this state. It's bumping around $15 billion right now. It's got a lot of issues that are affecting it. This ice storm is going to be the start of more forest health issues we're going to be watching across the state as these trees had breakage and damage, especially in our pine ecosystems. We're going to have to start watching for bugs when the weather starts warming up. So we fly the state twice a year looking for beetles. As y'all can recall, I was up here talking a lot a couple years ago about the massive beetle kill we had in the state as a result of the 2023 drought. Still dealing with the effects of dead pine trees across this state, but we've been busy. So whether it's forest management, forest health, wildfire protection, all hazard incident management team, we're getting it knocked out best we can. The agency is also turning 100 years old. So we've been doing this for 100 years. This year we're celebrating our centennial. Some of y'all have received some information about that already. If you haven't, it's coming. We'll be sending out some invitations. We'll be here in the Capitol. Going to have a little Capitol Day to celebrate 100 years as a state agency and helping landowners manage their trees, manage their forests, protecting the ecosystem, and fighting wildfire. So that's the agency in a nutshell. That we've been working on now for 100 years. So to get into the budget request, I am going to start a little bit with a brief history of where we've been the last couple of years. So, you know, as an agency, I mentioned the 1,700 fires a year that we respond to. Our operating model for the agency is 86 wildland fire crews. That's what we're shooting for. Just over one fire crew per county. Right now, though, we're running about 0.79 fire crews per county. We are having a little bit of a capacity issue. One of those, well, let me start back by saying prior to that, we, with the help of the legislature and the state personnel board, were able to implement a forestry pay plan a couple of years ago. Phase one of that pay, it was for the entire agency. Phase one of that pay plan, was for wildland firefighters. Got it implemented, saw salary improvement dramatically, and saw recruitment and retention improve dramatically. So the 6 months we were able to actually implement that, we went from about a 28-29% vacancy rate to around a 14% vacant rate. So we were getting qualified, like the applications were looking way better. We were getting qualified people coming into the agency. Well, at the start of this fiscal year, we lost 67 pins. And at the beginning of this fiscal year, I only had 2 vacancies available for my agency. So we had 67 vacant pins within the agency swiped, all the vacant pins. The 2 that we got to keep were the ones that we had already advertised for. So we had people actually interviewed for those positions. So the ability to cut into our vacancy rate to maintain an 86 crew model was diminished. So our request this year, you'll notice, is for the reinstatement of 32 pins that we lost at the beginning of this fiscal year. So we lost 67. The 32 pins will help us get back close to 300. We're currently at 259. And there is going to be a vacancy rate and attrition rate within the agency, especially at the wildland fire level. On average, it looks like it's around 10 to 15%. So I need more pins. Like I'll never, like if I get 300 pins, there'll never be 300 pins filled. And so there's always going to be attrition rate in there. And so to try to maintain an 86 crew agency, I am requesting pins. Now those pins, the funding for those pins is not general fund. We are requesting a flat general fund appropriation from last year. The idea here is that these 32 pins will be funded through state-generated special funds, agency-generated, I should say, agency-generated special funds, because I don't know what filling these pins is going to look like over time. So I have the most amount of flexibility with the special funds category, and so that authority we have in the special funds request. So there is a price tag on 32 pins of about $1.5 million to get those pins under the new pay structure that is by the state personnel board, approved by the state personnel board in this body, to get those 32 pins back. That's the salary authority we're looking for in special funds. Now, in addition to the wildland firefighters, that forestry pay plan included more than just the wildland firefighters. It was the entire agency. And then that was at the request of the state personnel board. Originally, we did it for just our wildland firefighters because they were the ones that were most out of whack with the salary ranges at the time when SEC 2 came out. But it was state personnel board that recommended we do it for the entirety of the agency. So every employee within the agency has a plan, has a salary equity plan. And so that plan includes 70 people within the agency. The funding for that is actually already in the general fund number, because it was already within the plan. So I'm not asking for any additional general fund appropriation for that as well. It's about $266,000 total. It's about $237,000 for the non-wildland fire personnel within the agency to get their salary equity adjustments for the upcoming year. We were able to move last year within the VCP under state personnel board, but they did not approve the full move like what was approved for the wildland firefighters a year before. They knew that the VCP, going on the route of the VCP, was going to take more than 1 year. So they denied that. And then in addition, the forestry, one more thing in the request, again, all this is special funds authority request. The wildland firefighter portion of the forestry pay plan included a 2.5% progression per year, assuming they meet the qualifications of we implemented, not only is it tenure, but they have to meet certain training requirements and qualification requirements to be able to advance up a career ladder, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure if we're still calling it a career ladder anymore. But that is the advancement within the agency is 2.5% per year per wildland firefighter. So that has a $266,000 price tag to it. So at the end of the day, we're looking at an increase in special funds authority for vacancies in the progressions that I just mentioned, and then a flat general fund request. And we'll be glad to answer any questions that there may be.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Russell, the federal fund increase request you've got is about roughly $800,000. Did you say how you expected to get those funds and where they're coming from?
On the federal fund request?
Yes.
Oh, 876,000. Yes, sir. So we have several agreements with the feds, both through technical service providers. So NRCS, Forest Service Agency, like, for example, this EFRP, the Emergency Forest Restoration Program. I don't know if y'all have heard much about it. We've had thousands of cases within the state that we're still having to deal with as a response to the beetle kill from 2023 I mentioned earlier. In fact, yeah, which is a whole nother issue with FSA, but we actually get reimbursed for time by doing that work for them. And so some of those federal funds are generated through the technical service agreements that we have with people like NRCS, Farm Service Agency, and the U.S. Forest Service.
Is that money a certainty, or is that the expectation that you'll?
No, it is a certainty. It is paid for work. So,
Okay.
So the special funds that we are using are also, so I guess one way to look at it is we do the work to generate the funds. This isn't like grant submissions to the USDA.
But the work has either been done or it's guaranteed.
It's been done, and it is, yes, sir. And
Okay.
it is guaranteed. And so I say guaranteed, it's been interesting at the federal level too.
Yeah.
But all of these programs, like the CRP programs through FSA, the NRCS programs, all of those just passed Congress this past week, I think it was. So those are all programs that are continuing to be funded.
And you're aware of this, I'm sure. We've had other, especially in the past year after some federal bills, we've had other agencies that are dealing with the issue of the expectation they had from federal funds that now is not coming through, and they're looking to the state to shore up the deficiencies. So I just want to make sure this is money that we feel certain is in the pipeline. And then the other one is the other special funds. The one that comes to my mind, of course, is 16th section funds, if you're doing work for them. But what are the other sources on other special?
Absolutely. And real quick, back to federal funds, I would like to say, so we've always been very conservative when it comes to using federal funds to pay for salaries within an agency. So that is not something my agency has ever been very comfortable doing. The only salaries within the agency is usually tied to like the Forest Inventory Analysis Program, which is a federally run program. That's what we use to do the statewide inventory. So only a lot of other state forestry agencies that are aware that we're using a lot of those federal grant funds to supplement salaries within the agency strictly. They ended up in some trouble. But with these programs, these are not your typical grant programs. These are core federal agency support for landowners in Mississippi. And so this is work that the federal agency is actually getting done on the ground. So it's slightly different number, but we have always been very conservative and responsible when it comes to using those funds in this state. For us, we want to put as much of the work on the ground as we can with that federal dollar to the landowner.
And then again, looking at the budget proposals, you got a slight decrease in vehicles and a fairly significant decrease in equipment.
Yes, sir.
And it appears to me that you're reducing equipment to make up for the salary, to help make up for the salary gaps. Am I reading that correctly?
So we are actually on a rotation with equipment. So every other year, or every year we're buying equipment. What we've done as an agency to maintain a rotation age on equipment is we've alternated between vehicles, like passenger style vehicles, our pickup trucks and stuff, and the heavy equipment we have to purchase, like our bulldozers and transport trucks. So we just purchased 12, in this last fiscal year, we just purchased 12 tractor plow units, which includes a truck, have the bed manufactured, and then the bulldozers with the fire packages on them. So, you know, the plows and everything wrapped up. In the, we'll call it the off year, the other year is when we're buying passenger style vehicles. So our equipment, our need for equipment funds goes down in the off years because half-ton pickup trucks don't cost near about as much as a Cat D3 bulldozer.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I don't know what your inventory is, but it looks like it's gone down. Equipment alone, well, vehicles to start with has gone down. It was at 1.65 million back in FY25, went down to 1.36, and you're requesting 1.35. So it's decreased about 300K over the last 2 years, essentially. And then equipment was 3.5 million roughly, and then it's down to 2.4. So we're talking about over a 2 year period, about a 1.1 decrease on equipment. And I want to make sure that we're not, of course, you know, salaries. I'm not suggesting if you don't need equipment, you don't need equipment. And I don't want you to spend money, and nobody wants you to spend money on equipment that's not needed.
Absolutely.
But also, it looks like your need is in salaries and employees, but you know, equipment's can certainly bounce back pretty quick if you don't take care of it and you don't replace it on a regular basis. You're going to have a huge request one day for equipment, and I may need to, and Mr. Chair may just want to get a analysis of where you are on equipment over the last 5 or 10 years, what needs to be coming up in the next few years, because you know, we don't want to get any surprises. And next year we're looking at a $4.8 million equipment request, or you know, something more than that.
Yes, sir. Well, and that's what you're seeing right now. So what you're seeing is the results of a big ask that happened several years ago. So the agency had not had a set rotation age. The agency was buying equipment when they could, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so there was not actually a replacement schedule. So 7 years ago, we implemented a rotation schedule. So one of the things you're seeing right now is we've actually got a lot of new metal in the agency. And so we're not having to take big chunks to replace stuff that's 30 years old. You know, I mean, we've eaten into that inventory, and we have better equipment within the agency now. So I would expect over time, well, I say expect over time, metal's also gone up a lot. There's been a drastic rise in the cost of this equipment over the last 4 or 5 years. But we are doing much better and we maintain that rotation. It's a 15-year rotation age on heavy equipment. And so we're able to, we are on schedule, so part of the way we pay for that is also through acreage tax. Well, acreage tax in itself is not enough to purchase this many bulldozers. So being able to roll it for that next year, we get a better price discount through reverse auction when we're buying 12 versus 6. I mean, we could do 6 every year, but it's better fiscally for the state, for the agency. It costs me less to do it every 2 years versus every year.
Okay. Thank you, Russell. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Mr. Chair.
All right, I think the chairman got into some pretty hefty stuff there. My question for you is, how many open spots do you have right now? You're asking for the 32 new pins. I understand you have a revolving situation there.
Yes,
So
sir.
right now, how many do you have open?
Well, it appears, because I had some, again, left this last couple of weeks that are moving. It looks like I'm probably going to be bumping 20 vacancies right now.
So 20 vacancies right now, and you're asking for 32 new ones.
I am.
So if you've got that many vacancies, what's your average vacancy across the year? Are you keeping 10 open pretty much across the year, here and there, or what are you expecting?
Yes, well, that's what I mentioned earlier. So the vacancy rate within the agency historically is going to be 10 to 15%. It got bad there for a while after the pandemic because the salary gaps between what the state was paying and what they go get, not just the state, my agency, between what my agency was paying and what other state agencies and school janitorial services and that sort of, I mean, we were losing people to all kinds of stuff, the prison, et cetera. But when you look at it, it's gonna be somewhere around 10 to 15% is what the vacancy rate. Some of these folks that we hire, their first big night of fighting wildfire, or I ship them from Jones County to Tippah County for 2 weeks to help with ice damage. They don't stay. I mean, that's, even though you're paying, that's hazard pay. That's a detail. It doesn't, that just ain't their jam. So it's a lot of hard work that our staff has to do out in the field. And so that vacancy rate has historically proven, and we're seeing it right now, 10 to 15%. So for me to maintain a fleet of 86 wildland fire crews, to try to have at least one crew per county, because look, on high fire day, when we get into the spring and fall fire seasons, we're going to start seeing 50, 60, 70 fires a day. Last spring, we saw 80 to 100 fires a day. And so what that means is when all of the crews, it's not one crew per fire. I mean, if it's a 350 acre fire and I've got 3 crews on it trying to get it contained to protect a subdivision, that means there's a fire somewhere else that has nobody on it. And so the personnel count needs to be 10 to 15%. The pins that we have available within the agency needs to be roughly 10 to 15% higher than the actual number of people that I need. So if I had 300 pins, I'll never have 300 filled. I'll have 280 filled, 285. And that for us is healthy when it comes to our responsibilities for response.
So on your request there, and I see that's going to be about $1.5 million on your formal request you filed with.
Yes, sir.
On that. I'm looking at your additional salaries increases in there on your salary progressions. And
Yep.
from what I'm seeing as forest rangers, techs, forestry 1 and 2, and forestry team leaders are in that, and that's about a $266,000 increase just for them.
Yes, sir. That's that
Your
2.5%.
in range is going into your accountants, your administrative support, your development special leads, your deputy directors, your emergency management officer, heavy equipment op. That's about $237,000. Now, that's all I see in here. And you've got like 70 head that you're saying you want to give. That's going to be these down here. So are we going into any additional people? Are we going into any additional administration for the salary progressions, or is that all that we're looking at, or just those titles?
So what you just listed is the entirety of the agency.
That's the entire, that's the entire agency. You're asking for everybody to get a raise.
No, sir. Just those that are not within the forestry pay plan approved by the State Personnel Board within their salary equity.
I'm just looking at what you requested here, and all I'm asking is on the 70 you've got here, those positions are what we're paying. So,
Okay.
My eventual question is going to be, are we paying the top tiers, or are we just trying to get everybody else up?
It is everybody within the agency that is not met
Everybody in
their
the
salary. Yeah, that's not met their salary equity. So so keep in mind, the 2.5% per year so that model is the 2.5% that you mentioned earlier that is for wildland firefighters. So that is rangers, techs, and foresters. And then the 70 that I mentioned is for the other agents. So that includes dispatchers, mechanics, administrative personnel, managers. I mean, the rest of the agency. And then it is based to the formula, the State Personnel Board formula, whether or not there is a pay increase applied.
So I guess my next question would be, I understand the board gave you a substantial raise. Is that going to fully fund your raise?
I mean, the State Personnel Board set my salary. They told me that what I'm currently making is what I'm allowed to make. So that's
I know there's an additional.
which was lower than my board had
That's right.
asked for. Yes, sir.
So additionally, the people behind you, are they being bumped up to comply with that? I know you've got other individuals behind you.
Well,
Are they all jumping up now?
they're not complying with that. So the State Personnel Board has salary ranges based on the positions they're in.
I understand.
So the formula created was based on their experience, their qualifications, and their years of service. So where they belong on their salary range for their job description is based on those metrics, not with anything the board had done for me.
I'm just looking here at your listing of your titles, and those are the people I want to give the raises to. I want to be sure that they get to the levels they're supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
I've told you from the beginning when I was your chairman that that's what I want. The guys on the ground that are out there running those saws right now are the ones that need the raises.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't keep them. I don't understand how we keep people in fire service, period. I don't care whether it's residential or it's in the woods, because I wouldn't want to go do it, at the end of the day. So I just want to be sure whatever we do is we bring those folks up to where it should be.
Well, the good news
And
is that they are. So the wildland firefighter pay increase based on the surveys and the salary ranges that were set by the state personnel board, I tried to move it higher.
You did.
I did not, when SEC 2 came out, the Rangers, Techs, and Forester salary ranges went down, and that was not supposed to happen. They need, in my opinion, they still need to be higher than the levels they're at now. But when it comes to what we're allowed to do, that's what the state board, SNAIR board said. So they allowed us to adjust our minimums to 30,000 for like the Ranger 1. So we have new minimums within the agency. They didn't move the whole ranges up, not the ranges, what's it called? The steps, yeah, the steps. And so they make the steps as high, but what they allowed us to do was set new minimums within the steps they allowed us to move to. So the ranges are shorter for Rangers, Techs, and Foresters now than what you would see on the State Personnel Board website, because our new agency minimum is technically above their minimum. But it is 30 to 35% pay increase for everybody in the Ranger, Tech, and Forester classification is what happened 2 years ago. So yes, sir, I couldn't agree with you more.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I tell you what'll make it easier for me. I know I've looked at these in the past couple of years, but maybe a refresher on where, and I guess Corbin, this for somebody to get this too. I want to know where everybody is at their number, and we can get the SEC their number too. We can look at it. I need to get a breakdown because this one has always been a bit of an issue, I know. So if we can get that, that'll help the chairman and I kind of make a decision on where we are in the Senate. But I do want to follow up one other thing. You mentioned salary equity for 79 firefighting. What do you mean by salary equity?
That is the formula for State Personnel Board. So we want, in addition to making sure each individual employee within their range, you have to consider that across the categories as well. So the complete category of Rangers, Techs, and Foresters. So what we don't want, and what had happened previously, is you don't want a new hire with no experience coming in at $40,000 and a guy that's been there for 15 years making $32,000. And so part of the adjustments that we made 2 years ago was also to fix that as well. And that is done through the formula.
Okay.
Based on your years of experience.
Let me get a break. It's going to be easier for me to understand that. I know at some point it got wonky and there was an issue, but I just need to get a breakdown so I can see where everybody is at every level so that we don't have any inequities in there. So yeah, that'd be
Absolutely.
helpful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One last thing, and this is an easy one. In all of our budget bills, we have your program output, your efficiency, and your outcomes.
Okay.
In the past, we've changed those around a little bit. Do you think we're pretty comfortable with what we've got there with regard to our metrics within that?
To the best of my knowledge.
All right, looks like you're pretty good from what I can see here on. Anything else, Analyst Corbin? Chairman, thank y'all. I think we're good today.
Thank y'all for your time. Stay warm.
Okay. General, we're gonna wait just a second.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, just a minute, General. If you don't mind, there's the chairman coming back in there. It's good seeing you again. You could have come up and visited with us. I hear it's warm down your way. I'll turn your mic on, General.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm over in New Orleans at the Gulf Council right now. And having to fight for everything we can get for a little bit of fisheries out here.
Well, you keep at it. You keep at it. What can we do for you this morning on your budget?
Well, I'd give Senator Delano copies of everything. I don't know if y'all got those or not, but I had given him copies for y'all to be able to have.
We haven't seen Senator Lano yet, so we'll just talk numbers today. We can talk semantics later. How about that?
That'll be fine. That'll be fine. And but I appreciate it. And if you want to, then I'm sorry. I wished I could try to get something emailed. I'm sorry that he's not there, but we did give him a copy of what your briefing is. But anyway, DMR is operating as normal. I say as normal. You know, we're dislocated right now. We're scattered all over the coast rather than one building. But everything's working fine, and hopefully we'll get something working to be all in one building again soon. Our oyster season, if you haven't seen it, is above normal. We're at 30,000 sacks right now. That's the most that's been harvested in Mississippi waters since 2010. Last year we had 8,000 sacks. That was the first in 5 years. And so, you know, because of the Bonnie Carey. But we're getting there. Our numbers are coming back. We have 80,000 sacks that we could harvest this year in our season. And hopefully next year we'll be at the 100,000+ sacks. So everything is coming great. And what we're doing and our rebuild is working. We're working for additional snapper allocation right now. MS Krill is a big thing that we're working on. And so we're getting that. And hopefully we're finalizing all of our part as far as the state of Mississippi, and now it's going to be left up to NIMS and NOAA to do their part to be able to give us that numbers. But I think if we get there, then we will get into the 120 to 140,000 pounds instead of the 80,000 that we have now. But we're building new reefs, and we're also building new shorelines everywhere. So everything's working great. Leslie Brewer also is on board with us today. She's online, and she's our chief financial officer. So if something happens and I get kicked off, Leslie will take over for me. All right.
Very good.
All right. If I can, I know you don't have a slide, and I'm very sorry. But what we're looking at is our actual funds received in 2025 for general appropriations was 3,604,000, and then we approved funds in June of for 26 was 3.7 million, and this year we're looking at a request for 3.918 million. And I'll go over those numbers in a minute with you as to the reason. The off-road fuel tax is staying the same at 3,050,000. Our salaries, if you look at it as far as the general appropriation, it was 3.6 million in 25, 3.7 million in 26, and we're estimating it would be 3.9 in 27. So that's the numbers that we're looking at for a total expenditure of about almost $7 million, 6.9 million. Any questions on that?
Not yet. Not yet, General.
Okay. And the appropriations, what we're looking at is positions. We're still holding the same thing at 173. We're asking to keep the 173. Out of that appropriations, 15 general fund state, 40 are federal funds, and 118 are special funds. So it tells you where our funds are coming from. Majority of the money is not coming from the state funds itself. Oh, good. They got some briefings. Thank you. I'm on the third page if you get there. If you want to go back, we can go back.
No, we're good. Keep on, General. We're good.
Okay. So that was in FY25, and we're holding the same all the way to FY27. No change in the pins that we're talking about. You will see a change if you go in that third slide where the general funds from 25, 26, and 27, and you look at the federal funds, and then you look at the other special funds, and it goes from 10 million to 11 million to 14 million. And I'll give you the reasons for all those in just a second also. All right, if you go to the next slide over, if you look at the budget totals, if you look at the salaries, you'll see where we're talking about. And the numbers there if you go into 27 against 26, is you will see about $186,000 in, and that's in, general fund addition. And then look at the federal funds, it's about 300,000, a little over 350,000. And then if you look at the other special funds, it's about, almost a little over 500,000. And the reason for that is if we are allowed to give any raise at all. Okay, that is not that the funds are there to fund what we have, but we don't. In the past, we've always just put in for an option to be able to give raises if the Senate and the House allows that, and the governor. And so that's what the funds are there for. And when you see those numbers, we're not asking. The only thing that we're going to ask for in additional funds, if that would happen, is 186,000 for the general fund. The rest of it will be coming out of federal funds that are already funded by the federal government and other special funds that are already funded. The funds for those raises are in there if we're allowed to give them. Any questions on that part? Okay.
You keep on, General. We'll come back to those questions.
Okay, at travel, you'll look at it, it's pretty much leveled. We did down last year because of some things happened with not being able to travel due to the government shutdown and other things that are happening. But the travel is, if you go back to, it's pretty level across the line. There's not very much difference in it. I mean, it sees a number, but it's what it should be because of the government being back operational. The contractual is a big difference. If you'll see that, if you go back to FY26, under the contracts, you see 570 in federal, and you see other special funds 2.9, and then you go over and look at 3.3 in federal and 5.7. That is because of large contracts that we have out right now. We have we're doing Keys, Katrina Key. We're looking at doing other big projects, and it's more coming from Restore and Go Mesa funds and all with big contracts that we have, and also with some other agencies as far as our titling and all that we have a prior going. But the biggest thing is that these are just contractual things that are going out. It's not any additional funds from the state. If you can see, no general funds in that. Okay. If you go down to equipment, we're pretty. We're looking at about $3 million in total in equipment, but the special funds and what we're talking about, the other special funds and all, a lot of that is boats. We were given some money to be able to buy several new boats that are 28, 30-foot boats that are going to be used for our port security and other things. And so because of that and our bay boats that they're being able to be replaced, and these are coming from federal funds or other special funds. And so we're good with that as far as our equipment. But that's commodities, excuse me, that we're talking about. And equipment, where the vehicles, you can see there's 200,000. We put in there, that's something that's put in every year. We add about $200,000 in special funds, and that's to be able to buy new equipment. And what we look off of is basically if anything happens to one of our vehicles, or if anything happens to when we get them to the point to where they just wore out and we need to buy new ones. And so we use that out of having about 100 vehicles in the fleet. That's replacing about 4 vehicles or 5 vehicles a year. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyway, get down to the bottom line. The bottom line is we're asking for about 261 million in total authority and funds to be able to spend this year. And a lot of that, as you can see, is in other special funds and federal funds, only 3.9 in the state appropriations. Okay. Any questions, or you're okay to move forward?
Mr. Chairman, you want to just let him just keep moving forward, General. We'll come back to anything.
Okay.
We're making notes and come back.
The next slide, if you look at it, it talks about the appropriations request for the 186,596 in general funds. And once again, if you can see, that says for agency salary increases if we need it. The total amount that we would need is about 370,000, and that's for total state, federal, and special funds. If we were able to give any raises, and when I say raises, we usually normally looking at a 3% or somewhere in that neighborhood. The only ones that we gave any more than 3% and was somebody that was at the bottom of the totem pole and trying to get them up to where they need to be. We're trying to help those people making $30,000, $28,000 and $30,000 a year to be able to get up to where they can afford to be able to, continue working with us and not go to work with somebody else. And that's what we worked on. And our top tier agency, we didn't ask for that because they're fine. We're all right with that. We're talking about the people that are in the, down in the trenches doing the work that have the lowest pay scale. That's who we're trying to bring up to. And we also, if you look at our agency, we're about 90% of the people in the agency have a college degree or higher. And when you're trying to pay some of those $35,000, $40,000 a year with a college degree, that's tough if they've been there. Coming straight out of college, they might do it, but if they gotta have progression. They gotta have a way to move forward. Only 2 people in our whole agency are at market or above. And I just tell you that. And those 2 people are basically, one of them is over our buildings and stuff and does all the equipment and all, but and that's just because of the situation of where they were at. They've been there a long time, and another one's administrative assistant that's been over 20-something years. So that tells you something to where we're at. Our agency is nowhere near where at the market. We're trying to get there. One day we'll get there. We know that y'all are trying to help us, and we appreciate that. But that 370 that we're talking about includes fringe and all. That is not any, that's not just the base. That's everything. Okay.
Okay.
And then we get to Tidelands. If you look at Tidelands, we're looking at 11.8 million, and that number's there for a reason because that's what we project that the Secretary of State's going to give us. Okay, we can only operate off of what we project that they will give us. In FY26, we spent 8.9 million. One of the things that you're going to see in Senator Hobson, there's going to be something brought to you if it hadn't already to ask, and what we're going to be looking at is a deficit spend to be able to put an additional $5 million in authority, no money, not a dime. We don't need any money in Tidelands. And what happened last year, whenever we did the budgets and all, and when we did the appropriations bill, if you look at the 1729, it had 11 million. And then when we came back to House Bill 8, whenever it came back to the actual appropriations, it was cut down to 6.4 million, I think it was. And the reason for that is there was no additional, the Senate and the House and all did not allow us to spend any additional on funds other than to operate the agency. And that's fine. We understand that. But what we needed was the authority to be able to pay prior year projects. And they gave us $1 million. In the past, we have basically robbed Paul to pay Peter, and that's not the way to do it. Leanne has been sitting down with me and going over it, and she's come up with an idea. And so basically what we need now is we need more authority to be able to pay prior year projects because we spend $5 or $6 million a year in prior year projects. And what happens is we're not asking for any a dime, just authority to do it. And what we will do this year, Senator, we're going to ask for, and I've already talked with Chairman Reed over there on the House side, and I was going to come with you as soon as I can. But we want to look at a possibility of being to do a deficit spend as soon as possible. We're down to less than $1 million in Tidelands right now. And that's because we brought Paul to pay Peter, even with the part, when we're paying these prior year projects out of the funds that we have to keep operating the agency. We're going to need about another $4 to $5 million, and $5 million is what we asked for, an authority to be able to continue to operate the rest of this year through June. And that's what we're asking for. It's nothing but authority to be able to spend the money from prior year projects. Senator, do you understand what I'm asking there?
I do.
Okay. And next year, what we're going to do is obviously this number may change. That 11 million may change because there was about 5 or 6 million that was not authorized this year because of the projects that, I guess it would be called public access projects wasn't allowed to be. So that may come in, and I'm talking to the Secretary of State, that's 5.5 or 6 million is still sitting there. And it's sitting there in the budget, and they will probably add. So this could go to as high as to $17-18 million is what the total for 2027 is, if it's allowed to be spent by the legislature, the House and the Senate. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. And that, once again, that's just because that extra money's sitting there and there's projects out there to be spent on. And we're also going to ask for an additional $6 million instead of the $1 million that we had asked last year and the prior year for additional year spending. We're going to quit robbing Paul to pay Peter, and we're going to try to get it in the right bucket. and the right bucket would be authority to spend for prior year projects. So we're going to ask for an additional 6 million instead of a 1 million. Any questions on that?
That's in your deficit. You're gonna ask for 6 million in that deficit?
No, 5 million in the deficit for this year because they'd already given us 1 million. And then next year, instead of putting, whenever we, in the blind-eyed budget that we've had as far as the appropriations, it says that we have $1 million for prior year projects. Well, we're going to change that to read to $6 million for prior year projects because that's authority. That's all we're asking for. It's authority to spend
Right.
it on the prior year projects. Because according to Leanne, we have basically been paying it out of the budget that y'all are giving us for this year. You know, and in a situation like this past year in 2026, when we didn't get that additional 5 million, we didn't have the authority to be able to pay the prior year projects the way we need to. And so we're trying to right the ship here. You know, we've been kind of pushing it down a different lane, and we're trying to right it according to what Leanne thinks would be the right way to go.
I got you.
Okay,
Anything else, General?
that's it right now until that point. Now, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
All right, Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, good to see you. Sorry
You too.
you're not able to make it up here. Let me go over a couple of things. I noticed your travel, it was 170 last year, but the previous year was 108. And you told me about the federal shutdown, but what caused it to bump? Why was so much more travel needed from FY25 to last year? I can't recall.
It's because of different programs that we have started working on with the federal government. We have different programs in which they allow, you know, they pay for the travel. If you can see, the majority of the travel is coming, all of it, matter of fact, is coming out of federal and state fund. I mean, other special funds. And these are things to be able to go to these things. And we have different people, like just to give you an idea, like the SSC, which is the one that sets all the fishing things in the Gulf and all and across America. Well, the chairman of that is now part of DMR, and he is one of our, and he has to go quite a bit. That added travel. We're talking about numerous times of travel, and also that between GOA now, it's Gulf of America, and between it and between Gulf states and between Gulf Council, there's quite a bit of travel that is being put because the meetings that we have every year, they've gone from 1 to 5 to 7 in different meetings. And so we're working at that. Other things are things that are coming that we have the Heritage Group, and the Heritage Group is now meeting with a lot of different people across the other states. And so we're also having to have them be able to travel. None of it is state funded. It's all federal or either special funds.
Okay. And you were mentioning in your presentation something about equipment, then you kind of backtracked and said, well, that's actually commodities.
Yeah.
And looking at your request, which is between federal and other funds, is $3 million. What does that include? What federal? I know it's not general funds, but I am curious what caused that to bump up so much.
Which one are you talking about, sir?
About commodities.
Oh, yeah, about it going up from the prior year. And basically, it's things that we are buying. You know, it's Leslie, are you on board? Can you speak? Maybe you can help me here better because I don't know the answer.
Yes, sir. You know, when we create this budget, we're basing it on last year's budget too. So when it's a little bit more than, you know, our budgeted numbers are always a little bit higher than our actuals in some circumstances. So I'm thinking that that's just playing off of our last year's budget for 26, and it may be just a little bit higher because of that. But I mean, we need a lot of
That's
supplies
right.
for what we do.
It was at 1.2 million the year before, and then it bumped to 3. And I'm just trying to remember what the commodities request was for last year and this year.
I know, our Culch plant material, that is a commodity. So I know if we do a lot of that will bump it up too. So we have to keep that in mind.
Oysters.
Oysters, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
you know, we spend $2 to $3 million a year just in oyster culture and orchards and planting oysters.
Okay.
and sometimes more than that. And once again, what happens, and now I'm on board now, Leslie, I caught on. All right. I caught on to what it is. If you look at it, if we go out and we do a $2 or $3 million, and that's what we say we think it's going to cost us to spend this, a lot of those things are live animals. We're not talking about an oyster. If we buy the oyster that's spat on shell, it's a live animal. And this last year, because of some issues that were going on in the water systems and all, a lot of that didn't get put forward because even though that the request had been there from the prior year, it was not able to be spent in the time that this year. And so now we're having to carry that forward, and we had to go back and ask for additional time on a contract to be able to do it. And so I think that's where it's coming from, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. General, I just wanted to be sure that I've got this right. You're saying you're only asking for about 160,000 in general fund from the state on top of this. That's your increase, about 160, right?
It's 186,000.
186, sorry.
Yeah, 186,596. Now, once again, and that's in general fund. If we wanted to give raises, and that's all for the general fund raises. That has nothing to do with the federal and the special funds, but which we would need authority. We would need progression at about 370,000. That we would probably need somewhere in the neighborhood of 370,000 in progression, and that's what
Right.
that's what we're talking about.
I do have one other question. I've always wondered this. On our tidelands, you've got salaries in your tidelands, but we don't have any positions. What am I missing there?
All right, we have salaries. We have several salaries that are paid for through Tidelands. Obviously, we have our Tidelands director, which is Sonia, and then we have things that are paid for. And what I'm getting at is when they give me general fund, when they'll give me the appropriations, and you gave me the 6 point something million this year for the appropriations for Tidelands, and that was part of it that was given. Well, $1.5 million pays the bond debt, and then $1 million was for prior year. Then the rest of the $4 million is what we use to run the agency. And we have salaries that are in, if you look at like the NEAR, which is has a 70-30 match. The 30% match that the state has to match is salaries and all that we use for the 70% that the federal government gives us for the NEAR. We do 50-50 on salaries with Heritage. And so Heritage is funded 50% by the federal government and 50% by the state, and we have to use the Tidelands to be able to do that as a state fund of it. Then when we go to the Lyman Hatchery, it's 100% funded by that. And then we also offset a couple of other jobs that are put in there as far as administrative, and that's where the salaries come from. And they're listed in the total 173, but they would be listed under special funds.
But that's what I wanted to know. They are in your 173, and that's what I
Yes.
was just trying to get to, because there wasn't a listing of a pen on the Tideland side, but that's just supplementing back into your salary budget on your other.
Yeah, and Leslie, maybe you can answer the senator's question. Do you know the exact number that we pay for?
As far as positions,
Yes, in Tidelands.
not off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay, I know
That's all
that.
right.
All right.
I'm good with that answer. I mean, I just was trying to figure out where they were going there,
Yeah.
General.
Yeah.
I do have one last question. You mentioned the building facilities down there. Are y'all looking, I'm not familiar. Are y'all building? Are y'all looking for a new facility down there? You say you spread out. Just a
Well,
question.
what's happened is the Bolton building, which is owned by DFA, obviously has a situation where they came in and had a bunch of mold and all that was in the building.
No,
and that-
and that's it. And we just want to be sure we get the funding. If you need any additional funding somewhere, any request, you just can supplement those back in if you need to.
Yeah, that's something, I have no idea where we're at, Senator.
That's
You know,
right.
And
Well, As
it's
you
gonna
get
allow-
closer with that, we'll be happy to work with you on it because we want to
Oh,
get
but-
y'all back where you need to be.
Well, thank you. And,
Yeah.
and whatever y'all decide for us to do is where we'll go. We'll figure it out.
We have a very good public properties chairman now, and I'm sure that he'll be working with you substantially on that. General, I appreciate you as always coming in. Please come to see us. Is there anything else you need to add to that, or Leslie needs to add to this?
I don't think so. I think we've got it all, and I hope y'all got some invitations. If you didn't, you got them right now. That next Tuesday night, we're having our dinner at the co-op. And, and I'd love to have y'all there. And, we're having our dinner where we do the DMR dinner, and, we'll
Yes.
have, it's a surf and turf. So it's a lot of good oysters, a lot of good shrimp, and some, a little bit of meat to go along with it.
Well, we sure appreciate that. And look, we're glad to hear that we're having a big year for the oysters down there. We're looking forward to future years of the same. So if there's anything else we can do, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, General.
Yes, sir. I'll see y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.